Hello, everyone, and welcome to my alternate playthrough of Dragon Age 2. Oh boy. So, before we get underway here, we have to talk, because this is not as egregious of a situation as, say, Mass Effect 3. It's different. It's hard for me to even think about where to begin, other than I guess I should just start at kind of towards the tail end of what was going on with Origins. So, Witch Hunt, I believe, was the last bit of DLC for Origins. However, it was not supposed to be. So, the idea for Dragon Age 2, it actually began as a couple of separate ideas that got kind of combined into one, and they were going to make it as a DLC for Origins. But then word from on high, the EA executives said, "Oh, no. No, you can't do that. You have to turn this into a full-fledged sequel game so we can charge it at full price." This is not my speculation on what happened. This is an on-record thing, a stated reason for why this happened. And I remember how I said the team had really no intention of doing like a sequel when they were doing Origins. They did the expansion after word was told, no, you got to do more content for this. And they reluctantly were like, okay, we'll do it. And they did it Awakening, and they did some DLC. But now they were being asked to do a whole sequel game. Now, maybe that doesn't sound that bad. However, then it got worse. Have you guys seen that trailer of the new Elvis movie that's coming out with Tom Hanks as General Tom Parker? At the beginning of that trailer, Tom Hanks says, "There are some who'd make me out to be the villain of this story." I'm gonna kind of make a point that EA is clearly the villain of this story. The EA executives not only told them that they had to do a sequel so they could charge it at full price, but then they told them, you have a year to make it. Let me say that again. They told them their time budget, that they had to make an entire game, a sequel to the very highly acclaimed and loved Dragon Age Origins, was 1 year. And it wasn't like this year was, had everything go right. It was a mess. In real life, the things that happened behind the scenes for the development team for this game was an absolute mess. For one thing, EA once again interfered by moving around the teams, the personnel. I don't know why they do this. This sounds so strange to me as a concept, but rather than asking the same team that knew each other and had worked together on Origins, they fired some people, they moved some people from that team to another team to work on other stuff, and then they brought some people from other projects to work on be a part of the team for this game. They also had people work on other things that they didn't work on in Origins. So let's say, for example, they asked a writer to now go work on the sound design, or someone from the sound design team to go work on I don't know, the visual design or gameplay, or even the writing. Or, just stuff like that, which really wouldn't make any sense. And they had a year with doing this stuff. They had issues making the engine. They had writing issues. When I say it was a mess, I really do mean it was an absolute mess. And the thing is, even with all that mess going on, they could have still overcome those to make the game amazing and great if it hadn't been for one thing. That time budget I mentioned. When you think about Dragon Age 2 and all the problems and issues it has, you could very likely just simply look at and point to that time crunch issue, that 1 year of time they had to work on this game, as the biggest reason for all the faults that this game has. And yet, it's still a game I really like. It's incredible what they were able to accomplish in this game despite only having a year to work on it. I honestly believe that this game is an incredible accomplishment considering what they had to deal with. I give so much credit to the makers of this game for pulling off what they did with such a small amount of time. Does it have flaws and problems? Of course it does. There are some I've heard say that they think this game is absolute garbage and trash, and yet I've also heard some people say that this is actually their favorite Dragon Age game. Nothing wrong with that. Not for me personally. Origins is still my favorite, but I don't blame anybody if they just feel that this is their favorite of the Dragon Age games, because there's plenty of stuff in this game to really like. It's one of the reasons I've played this game multiple times and have enjoyed doing so. I still really like this game. I'm not sure if I would say I love it, but because there are times it does wear on me because of some of the issues. Mainly the environment stuff and the running around, and it just kind of gets a little tiresome and a little boring. The thing is, one of the things I do like about this game more than Origins is the gameplay, the combat. I really enjoy the combat of this game. But the game at times can just be boring when it comes to it, especially when it comes to the difficulty. Because you could say that Origins had legit good difficulty. This game has something that's really become kind of infamous, which somebody called this, I know referred to this as the Dragon Age 2 syndrome. And what it's referring to is the way that enemies just kind of spawn out of nowhere. And come out of nowhere, and they just keep coming. And it's just more enemies, they have more health, and that's basically it. And it just gets tiresome and boring and wears you out. That being said, there's still a number of things I think about this game and I really do like. And I've really enjoyed playing through it multiple times. And I'm looking forward to this run. And it's just such a shame because I think about what could have been with this game. The potential, the unfulfilled potential of what this game could have been had they just simply had more time to work on it. If the EA executives didn't cut them off at the knees, one, with the amount of time they were given, but then afterwards, because this game was not received all that well compared to Origins and it didn't sell all that well, this game only got a couple of DLCs. There were some other free DLCs here and there, and promotional items as well. But they were basically told to not bother continuing with other content because the executives were disappointed at the lack of money and sales that it made, as well as the bad reception it made, that they were like, all right, you're done making content for this game. We're stopping supporting for this game. It's kind of what happened later on with Andromeda. But then again, this is nothing new for EA. They've been doing this for many years. This is one of the reasons why EA has gained the reputation as one of the absolute worst companies in the world. This is not something that happened overnight. They've been doing this for a long time, that they've earned this reputation as an extremely hated company because of these kinds of executive decisions that they do to their teams, which really hinder what could be amazing games. And then we find out some of the problems and issues that happened because of their interference and meddling. But then again, how often have you heard where something great or could have been great could have been even better had it not been for executive meddling? And this game is one of those biggest examples that I immediately think of when it comes to executive meddling and unfair time crunch. Because that 1 year to work on this game is insane! It's insanely stupid to get that kind of artificial time crunch limit on your development team. Considering the amount of work that, what you have to do to put into making a great video game, you're going to give them a year to work on this? Again, I sympathize with the development team with what they had to go through, but I give them so much credit because despite all that, they still made a game that I consider to be a good game. This game has issues and problems, don't get me wrong, but boy, do I think it's better than what people give it credit for. I really do think this is a good game. Otherwise, I wouldn't enjoy replaying it as often as I have. That's not how I am. If I'm not enjoying this game or don't like it, I'm not going to keep replaying it over and over. It's one of the issues I had with Inquisition. I played through this game more than I have Inquisition. Because, well, let's be honest, Inquisition doesn't, 2 does not have the kind of issues that Inquisition had when it came to the running around and gathering and doing all that stuff in order to level up to continue so that the game wouldn't be too hard for you or that you could actually progress because you had to reach a certain level and all that stuff. One of the beautiful things is that as time has gone on, the people outside of development and the game company, mod makers, have been able to do things to really help aid these games and make them better than what they were on their own. And of course, I have numerous mods set to go for this run, for this game. Some of which I am really looking forward to showing you guys, because some of them I just thought were really great or made me laugh. Some of which are just things to make the game easier or more fun. You'll see what I mean. But it's just such a shame. I think about what could have been with this, and it's just such a shame. Because it could have been so much better. I still think it's good, but it could have been so much better. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get underway here. Turn the game sound back up. So, in my original run, I was kind of conflicted on what to do. I ended up playing a male hawk mage in my original run that we did. Part of the reason for that was because I wanted to show you guys, not necessarily Carver's story, but I felt that showing the main story in this game as a mage would give an interesting perspective with our character being a mage himself. Plus, I also got to show off Carver's story. However, this time we are not going to be playing as a mage. We will be playing... And I was conflicted about this. For one thing, we're going to be playing Femhawk this time around, because I want to go ahead and show off Jill Wyatt and her wonderful voice acting. It's so funny that the guy from Origins who played the horrible Denerim noble that was... being a horrible person to those elves in Origins and Denerim, is the guy who's voicing Male Hawk. I mean, I'm sure the voice actor guy is a very nice guy in real life, but oh my goodness, that character, how could you not hate that character back then? So, Jill Wyatt voices Femhawk, and I was going back and forth between playing as a warrior, a two-handed warrior, and a dual-wielding rogue. Because, like I said, I enjoyed the combat for all 3 classes in this game. I really do. Although, at certain specs, I'm not too fond of the shield and sword warrior in this game. And I don't think I've ever actually played an archer in this game. It's always been either two-handed warrior or dual-wielding rogue, which I consider to be pretty fun. And I have some mods that made me go back and forth, but in the end, I actually ended up deciding we're going to do a two-handed warrior. And you will see why when we get there. But, yeah. This will also let me show you Bethany's story. So, without further ado, let's begin Dragon Age 2.
Gentler invitations.
I am Cassandra Pentagust, Seeker of the Chantry.
And just, what are you seeking?
The champion.
Which one?
You know exactly why I'm here! Time to start talking, dwarf. They tell me you're good at it.
What do you want to know?
Everything. Start at the beginning.
Scouts. We will have to fight them sooner or later. Then we make our stand here. Prepare yourself. Let's make it.
Alright, hold on. It just seemed like the way they were talking sounded very, very soft to me in the recording there. So I was trying to turn it up to make sure we could actually hear what they were saying. Also, I'm turning the music down because I don't want to risk somebody at EA going, hey, let's copyright the soundtrack of this game. Yeah, so... yeah, I know. So anyway... before we get underway here, you'll probably notice that the Darkspawn here look a little different. So, the game went through a weird redesign when they were doing this, because they were also doing basically a different engine for this game, because obviously, this looks quite different compared to Origins, doesn't it? This looks very different from Origins. You know, a whole new engine and all that. Well, they also went through some redesigns. Now, there are some redesigns in this I do like and think were actually pretty good. Whereas some other ones, not so much. But, again, mods can help with that. One of the redesigns that I absolutely did not like was the change on the Darkspawn. Now, you can't see it here because I've made a mod that actually has tried to make the Darkspawn look more like how they did back in Origins, which I really liked the design back then. Here... they look weird, and not in a good way. Like, just a strange, like, why do you look like that? You look nothing like how you did back then. But this one has tried to make them look more like how they did in Origins. Now, obviously, the UI is clearly different here than how it was in Origins. And the other thing, as you can see here, look at how this runs. Look at how Hawk runs here in comparison to how our characters back in Origins played. Also, the abilities are just much more fast-paced. And that's one of the things I do love about the combat here. It just feels much more fast-paced at times. Just bam, bam, bam. Just immediate reaction. And I really do love that. Boom. Like, obviously, when it came to... and even the auto attacks, when you go over here, look how fast the auto attacks are for both Hawk and Bethany. Much more fast-paced, and I love it.
We can't keep this up forever.
I should also mention a couple of other things. One, going back to that cutscene you saw earlier with Varric and Cassandra, it's funny knowing how this game ends, seeing that they clearly brought Varric into Hawk's house there. We don't know that until the end of the game, but you can see that hallway and door looked like the one in Hawk's house, because of course Cassandra would be like, bring him to the champion's house. And I just thought that was a cute little tidbit detail there, setting up what's going on here. I also do like that this is basically a story that's being told to us by Varric. That everything we are seeing on screen is being told to Cassandra by Varric. And so at times, he will either tell us the real details, or he will exaggerate things, because it's Varric, who is awesome. I love Varric, he's so great. And Brian Bloom, oh my gosh, Brian Bloom is awesome. I love him as Varric in this game, and in Inquisition. But this part right here, along with what happens later on with the part with him, you guys know which thing we're talking about. I'll remind you when we get there. But this part alone here is one of those exaggerated parts. Not just to make Hawk look awesome, but if you look at Bethany, you'll notice that some of her assets are a little exaggerated in this cutscene compared to how she'll actually look when we get to the actual beginning of the game. And that's because, of course, Varric is telling us what is supposed to be an exaggerated story that other people have heard about, have been told about the champion and her companions, and he's telling that to Cassandra. And then later she's going to call him out on this after we finish the scene where she's like, no, that's not what really happened. He's like, but doesn't that match what you've heard? Because, of course, Varric is a great storyteller. Now, here's another thing that obviously is very different compared to Origins. This right here. Now, I actually saw a mod that was made. If you prefer the old dialogue selection down here, back in Origins, where it was the multiple lines of dialogue, there is a mod that somebody made where you can actually change that from this back to the old way it was in Origins, if you want to go with that. I considered doing that. However, I actually ended up deciding not to do that because I wanted to stick with the tone pace that I want to go for this run, which is... Usually you can try and decide what kind of tone you want your Hawk to be, whether it's the I'm a good person or trying to be a good person route, the very sarcastic, silly jokester route, or the very serious, aggressive, pissed off route, which is actually what we're going to be doing for Hawk in this run.
We'll take the bastards down with us. Here they come. Shall I deal with them? Allow me. On you go. One less to worry about.
My only issue is that sometimes that when you're trying to actually, click on Emmy to then do your abilities, it then takes a little moment for it to actually acknowledge that. Sorry, still kind of messing with the audio here.
There's no end to them.
Bullshit. That's not what really happened.
Does that not match the story you've heard, Seeker?
I'm not interested in stories. I came to hear the truth.
What makes you think I know the truth?
Don't lie to me! You knew her even before she became the champion.
Even if I did, I don't know where she is now.
Do you have any idea what's at stake here?
Let me guess. Your precious chantries fallen to pieces and put the entire world on the brink of war. And you need the one person who could help you put it back together.
The champion was at the heart of it when it all began. If you can't point me to her, tell me everything you know.
You aren't worried I'll just make it up as I go?
Not at all.
You'll need to hear the whole story.
So this time we're not going to be doing any kind of custom appearance. I'm honestly just going to go ahead and go with the default appearance. I've always liked the default Femhawk appearance. And yes, I do like the little blood smear that she's got on her face there. I think it looks kind of cool. I know some people may think it looks stupid, but I don't care. She looks right at us like, hey. We'll just go ahead and stick with Marion. Alright, so you can either go with any of the defaults, but nope, we're going to go ahead and import a save here. There we go. That's the one right there. So a little summary just to remind of some of the decisions that it acknowledges here as it carries into this game. Connor was freed from the demon. The Templars were recruited into the army. The werewolves were recruited in the army. Balin rules Orzammar. The Anvil of the Void was recovered. Loghain became a Grey Warden. Honora is the queen. The Warden performed the Dark Ritual with Morgan. The Warden killed the Archdemon. Vigil's Keep was saved from the Darkspawn assault. The Architect is dead, Warden's Keep was reclaimed, Shale was discovered, King Kaelin's corpse was thrown to the wolves, and the Warden let Morgan travel through the Alluvion. There are some other decisions, obviously, as well, that's not talking about right there, but yeah. I'm just double checking, you can see the time there, and so yeah, that's definitely the last one. So this is usually the one you always want to try and import into the game. So we'll go ahead and select that. It imported successfully! Wonderful! Let's get underway. We are, of course, going to be playing on casual. Because I'm trying to showcase the story and all that.
The Blight have been unleashed on Ferelden. Darkspawn poured out of the wilds, clashing against the army at the ruins of Ostagar. The battle was a disaster. King Kaelin died on the field with his men, betrayed by his most trusted general. Unopposed, the Horde marched on the village of Lothering. The village burned, and many innocents were slaughtered. The champion's family barely escaped in time.
I think that's all of them.
For the moment, make us save us. We've lost it all. Everything your father and I built.
We have to get out of here while we still can.
Yes, you're right.
We should have run sooner. Why did we wait so long?
Why are you looking at us? We've been running since Ostagar.
Are you two insane? If we stand around, we'll die.
Please, listen to your sister.
Then let's go. Lead on.
Thanks, Carver. So this sometimes is the amusing part. With all the stuff that keeps popping up here.
Here we go!
I forgot that a number of these are just in my inventory right from the get-go. So yeah, you're going to see some really cool and interesting custom gear in this that I found in mods. Like this one here. It improves with level up, so it's pretty nice compared to what I already have. We'll find some more as well as we continue. There's another one I could use as well. Actually, no, I take that back. That's a one-hander. So, like I said, we're going two-hander in this run. Could give, let's see. Here we go. I can give this staff to Bethany. Here we go. The evil staff. Don't need to bother with the sword, right? Sorry. You're going to see a lot of leveling up pretty fast in this run. I have a mod that increases the amount of levels, but also the amount of XP that we get. So let's just say we're going to be leveling up very fast in this game. Yeah, this is not a... I'm not just playing on casual just to show the story. I'm also using a number of mods that are going to make the game significantly easier than it already is. Just because, why not? It's already kind of, we're just having fun here, Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off here while it finishes showing all these, quests and everything that's popping up here, because a lot of this, did I mention the amount of promotional material and DLC material that was added for this game? Did you guys know that there was a suit of armor you could get in this game if you owned a copy of Dead Space 2? A piece of armor that makes you look like the engineer's armor that Isaac Clarke wears in Dead Space. Anyways, when we come back, we will be helping the Hawks escape Lothering and just trying to get out of here alive. Stay tuned.